Hello, it's Randi Rhodes. Here's a clip from our show, and go to randirhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.
Mary had a little man.
The fall. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe me.
Knock, knock. Who's there?
It's a figment of your imagination.
Randy Rhodes Show.
Turn up your mind.
We're in a strange place. I mean, it's almost, it's becoming a cultish thing, isn't it? It's not a good place for any party to end up with a cult-like situation as it relates to to a president that happens to be purportedly of the same parties.
Oh, my God. There's Bob Corker calling it Cult 45. All that's missing is the 45 part. They'll put it together. They'll get it. They'll understand it. This is how I tweet now. I hashtag Cult 45. It's unbelievable, but we had a primary in America yesterday, and another day, another white supremacist won a Republican primary. Congratulations, white supremacists. Yeah, the Virginia Republicans, they went deep red. Deep red. And not, they need to go like deep red, like out of embarrassment. But no, this is racist anger. They actually picked a guy who, oh my God, this is to run against Tim Kaine, okay? Tim Kaine, who was the vice presidential nominee, with Hillary Clinton on the ticket. So Tim Kaine is up for re-election. So the Republicans had themselves a primary, and they picked this white supremacist to run against Tim Kaine. And, in primaries, it's very low turnout, and it's the base. It's, these freaky people, these cult-like people who don't care about policy, because if they did, they'd look around and say, what have they done for me lately? Answer nothing. But they like the racists. This is a guy who ran around with other white supremacists, said they were his hero. He campaigned on his love for statues. He's an artiste, apparently. He's, he's a Michelangelo, a wannabe. I don't know. But David was a very small, he was a very tiny. Do you ever see the statue of David? Like a big hulking guy with like a tiny, yeah, this is what no, but not that statue. He liked Confederates. Confederate statues is what he ran on. His name is Corey Stewart. He's a huge fan of Confederate statues. And this is how he won the Republican primary in Virginia, because the Republican Party has become nothing but a monument to the Confederacy. That's the sad truth. So Bob Corker's like freaking out, saying it's a freaking cult out there is what it is. And of course, Bob Corker can speak because Bob Corker is leaving. He's not running for re-election in Tennessee. Now, if Bob Corker was running for re-election in Tennessee, he would probably have to sacrifice a goat at this point to get back into the cult. That is Cult 45. This is pretty creepy, I have to say. It's just an amazing thing. But, at his victory party last night, the crowd was shouting, lock her up and build the wall. And the loudspeakers, no, I'm not kidding, the freaking loudspeakers were blasting Sweet Home Alabama in Virginia. It looked like a belated victory party for the pedophile Roy Moore, didn't it? It looked like a victory party for Roy Moore. And guess what, everybody? It was. It was. Oh, my God. I have a little bit of him. I'll play you just so that you know we're not making this crap up. This is just really sick. Which one is he? I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. Thank you. Here he is.
Virginia can choose to continue with the prosperity and the progress of America under President Trump. Or it can choose the past with everything we know that has failed, and that's Hillary Clinton's running mate, Tim Kaine.
Tim Kaine.
happened, by the way.
It's not.
And Timmy, too. Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun between now and November, folks.
Okay, he said that it might just happen, that Hillary Clinton might get locked up, and Timmy too, meaning Tim Kaine. You don't have the keys yet to the jail, Corey, and you're not going to get them. What he doesn't realize is that the kind of vitriol and hatred that he espouses there in Virginia is not going to win over suburban women. I mean, he's going to lose. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, Tim Kaine just got the ideal candidate to run against. But, you know, and check out what just happened right before we went on there. The National Republican Senatorial Committee is refusing to endorse him. They're not going to endorse him. They tried hard to swallow, but, you know, they couldn't. They just, only Trump could gobble that down. Only Trump could swallow that kind of a load. So, you know, yeah. Very talented, Trump. That little pie hole really works well when you want to just swallow, you know, spew like that. But at 4 o'clock, 4:45 to be exact, at 4:45 this morning, you want to blame this on jet lag, but you can't because it's pure Trump. He tweeted, "Congratulations, Corey Stewart. Great victory." And then this morning, the Senate campaign, the Republican Senate, the RSCC, Republican Senatorial Campaign Committee, they refuse to endorse him. You know, it's just like,
I'm going to bomb the shit out of him.
Yeah, he's breaking up your Republican Party and turning it into a cult is what he's doing. You know, it's unbelievable. I mean, from this love fest with Kim Jong-un to embracing Corey Stewart, yeah, this man is attracting all the best people, isn't he? All the best people. Just like he said, he knows the best people, the best ones, the really best ones. And by the way, Corey Stewart has been palling around with the white supremacists that staged the Charlotte debacle over the Confederate statues in Charlotte that caused the death of a young girl. Remember? And then Donald Trump said, oh, there's very fine people on both sides, right? So he's like all in the tank for these white supremacists. And you know, what can I tell you? The Republican Party has, I don't know, look at these candidates that they field. They offer us more nuts than like, you know, Blue Diamond and Planters. I've never seen anything like this. Have you? But the good news is, for the second time since January, a Wisconsin Democrat won a legislature seat in a district that Trump won by over 15 points. These are elections that Scott Walker did not want to hold, and now you know why. This is why they suppressed the vote. This is why. See, it's only when there's a high turnout. This is because there's more of us, meaning people who aren't white supremacists, than there are of them, meaning people who are into oligarchy, people who are into fascism, people who like you know, autocracies, people who think you know, Trump is you know, some sort of a hero for, you know, cursing and screaming and saying he could rape and he can, you know, grab and he can shoot and he could do whatever he wants, whatever. You know, they like tyrannical dictators. Don't ask me why. I guess they're so weak and so uncourageous and so, you know, backwards that they want to be led, you know. I always say lead, follow, or get out of the way. But I always say lead, follow at Randi Rhodes, you know, on Twitter, or get out of the way, because, you know, following this man is going to take you right off of a cliff. I mean, it's just so unbelievable, right into a dead zone, right into zombie land. But yeah, so this is the first time in Wisconsin that Republicans got beat in a solid Trump district. Oh, well, no, this is the second time. First time Scott Walker called it a wake-up call. Remember that? Remember that? Yeah. And now it happened again because it looks like they hit the snooze button. They're not really, you know. And when you have high voter turnout, people like us win. When you have low voter turnout, which is what they saw in the Republican primary in Virginia last night, white supremacists win. Like this. I mean, Mark Sanford got beaten by a primary challenger. And I got to tell you, Mark Sanford was one of the most conservative. He was a member of the Freedom Caucus, for God's sake. Mark Sanford was Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. You understand that? Mark Sanford is like as corporate and as Tea Party and as cut them off at the knees a guy as you're ever going to find. I mean, they were talking about that, but he got beat last night because Trump was tweeting against him. And Trump was tweeting against him about the affair that he had with this woman in Argentina when he told us he was hiking the Appalachian Trail in 2009 and he had to resign as governor of South Carolina. You remember this? Well, Mark Sanford has never lost an election. The only reason why Mark Sanford isn't governor and is now a House member is because Mark Sanford resigned from the governorship because he was so embarrassed and he wanted to go to Argentina to be with the love of his life, you know. And so he did leave and he did resign. But then he came back and he ran for a House seat and he won. Mark Sanford's never lost an election. But Trump was tweeting about him last night for having an affair. For having an affair, the thrice married guy who's being sued by a porn star who is likely going to bring him and Michael Cohen down. Seriously, Michael Cohen thinks he's going to jail. Michael Cohen just changed his legal team today. I have no earthly idea why. It could be something as simple as they were arguing over legal fees, or it could be that he wants to cooperate with Mueller. And he wants to, you know, say, oh, Trump made me do it, you know, with regard to Stormy, with regard to Russia, with regard to the Trump Tower meeting, with regard to the Trump Tower Moscow. I don't know. I mean, we don't know. But I know he changed his legal team today. But anyway, Trump, who obviously pays, you know, random women $130,000 when he didn't have an affair with them, just in case he did, is criticizing Sanford for having an affair. I don't. But he actually was tweeting last night and saying, he's better off in Argentina. And don't vote for him. Don't vote for him. And people actually in the cult said, okay, I won't vote for him. And he is the most conservative person you could ever want.
So if you want to know where the Republican Party is right now, John Heilman, Mark Sanford survives career-ending, what should have been a career-ending scandal.
Right.
As governor, lies about going on the Appalachian Trail, becomes the butt of late-night jokes. Nobody said that guy would ever be elected back to Congress, and he won. 2 years later, he votes with Trump maybe 95% of the time.
Not quite, but close. 87, I believe.
87%.
Oh, my
Says
God.
one or two things about Trump that people don't like.
Off with his head.
And is so conservative. Conservative, really conservative. Not a
Seriously.
Trumpist. So
Tea Party.
conservative that even the Freedom Caucus said we would not have passed the tax cuts without Mark.
Hello.
There is no more conservative person on protecting tax dollars, balancing the budget, paying down the debt. It's been that's been Mark's sole obsession since 1994. But primary voters are like, no, you know what? We don't care that he's like one of the most conservative people in Congress. He said one or two bad things about Trump.
It's, well, look, there are two things to say. There are a lot of things to say about this, but the two...
Why don't we just start to say it has devolved into a cult? Primary voters in the Republican Party have devolved into a Trumpist cult.
Right. Well,
Seriously,
it's
everybody's
clear that
saying it now.
Conservatism, liberalism, voting records, none of those things matter. It is a cult of personality, and the president has an extraordinary hold over his base. And cult of personality is one good description for it. The second thing is, for all of the people out there, including at various times everyone at this table and me, all of us who've sat and said, why is it Republicans are afraid of Donald Trump? Why will they never cross him? Why he never repays their loyalty? He's terrible. He's this, he's that. They should all have the courage of their convictions and stand up to him. This is a good example, because Mark Sanford didn't really even stand up to him. He just made a couple of snotty comments about him, and Trump brings the wrath of Trump upon the guy who loses his job. Now, I would, and probably everyone here would say, you should take a stand for what you believe in and be willing to lose your job. But nonetheless, the fact is that if you get on the wrong side of Donald Trump, his power over his base is significant enough that he can kill you, regardless of how conservative your voting record is, regardless of your history in the Republican Party, regardless of your ideology, regardless of everything else. If he wants to put a target on your back, he can and will.
Great. So it doesn't matter what your policy is. It doesn't matter if you're into balanced budgets or corporate tax cuts or you vote with the president almost 90% of the time. What matters is whether or not Donald Trump likes you. How needy, how absolutely immature and needy. And then where does he attack you? Just like a high schooler, right? He attacks you on social media. He's better off in Argentina. You know, a lot of Americans are starting to think that they might be better off in Argentina and Switzerland and Sweden and Germany and England and South America and Central America and Canada, who will not have us anymore. This president is so thin-skinned. He is so desperate. And he claims victory when there really isn't one and just moves along and destroys you. Go to RandiRhodes.com for the whole thing and a podcast. Buy a stinking podcast.